Hutson, after an amazing weekend, is getting even more praise, as Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts has said that people within the Montreal organization think that Lane Hutson's going to make a run for the Calder, and they see some unbelievable things in him. We have to get into all that was said. Plus, Martin St. Louis comes out with a crazy power play update revealing how it's going to be operated in the upcoming season. We have a bunch of quotes from the official golf tournament as we're now just 2 days out from camp. We have an update on Bogdan Konyushkov and a ton of great stuff, including a bit of a recap from this weekend's games versus the Leafs, all coming up on this Monday live episode of Habs Digest. Welcome everyone into the chat, and to start off the stream, absolutely scorching, we have 5 gifted subs from Simon Desjardins, who simply says, I can't watch live tonight since I work, but here's some subs for the early birds. Enjoy the show, leave a like. So, Sylph, Jean-Maurice, Pat Bebo, Black Malotube, and Chad Hansen, if you're in the chat, you are now officially a channel member. You can take advantage of all the channel member perks, and we will answer you in priority order. Jesse, starting off hot on another Monday stream. Hello, Planko. Hello, Jay. Hello, everyone else in the chat. Are you ready to get into some good stuff?
Thank you, Simone. And yes, I am so ready. We're getting close, right? We got to see the rookies do the thing, but now we're getting into the big boys camp. Starting to get in. You have to feel like a couple guys like Reinbacher, like Engstrom, like, even Mayu, they're feeling warmed up now going into this. Like, they got a little bit of playing time. Even that is just going to help. So we knew these young guys wanted to show up at this big camp. They're already getting practice already. So we know the competition is going to be coming hot and heavy.
Oh man, it's going to be so exciting, guys. We're 2 days away from training camp. We're only 1 week away from the first preseason game that comes next Monday, September 23rd, and it comes against Matvei Michkov and the Philadelphia Flyers. It'll be very interesting to get into that. But Jesse, we got some other stuff to get into first, and I wanted to start a little bit with Bogdan Konyushkov, because as we know, Bogdan's playing time has gone down a bit this year. He's also lost the captaincy, which he wore on occasion last year with the addition of Slava Voinov, who has a rough past. He is definitely not a great person by all accounts, but he comes in, he's a veteran, he gets the captaincy, and in a recent interview that is linked down below if you want to go check it out, Bogdan kind of spoke about this stuff. I want to bring it up here. One of the quotes he said, Jesse, is that, I think sometimes reducing playing time makes you more efficient because your workload is reduced, which means there's less risk of injury. I hope that's how it will be. It all depends on me, which sounds not as nice as I guess I was hoping it would sound. Now, he does remain optimistic, and if you look at his ice time, this is also from the article, he's gone from 23.5 minutes last year down to about 20 minutes on ice this year. His power play time has been reduced by about 30 seconds per game, still getting out there quite a bit, but there's only 5 games in, but realistically, like, Bogdan has been playing time on the third pairing as Voidov's taken over on the top pairing. Jesse, what are your thoughts on this in terms of Bogdan's development? I'm not necessarily worried because, like he even said, when you have a veteran come in, you do your best to learn from them, and that's also very good for a young defenseman, especially in a league like the KHL, but I can't help but feel like I just wish, even though his playing time's not that much lower, I just wish we could see a little more from him.
For sure, just because we've been so spoiled to see so much of him, because young KHL defenders normally don't play this much, but averaging 20 minutes at his age in the KHL is absolutely amazing. So I really don't think we need to worry about this player. It's just actually so good for him how much experience that he's gained already. But he's saying he's doing this work. He wants to concentrate right now. He's got 2 more years in the KHL, but he's saying, I want to be ready as soon as my contract's done to be able to take that next level in the NHL. I want to be ready. He says, I'm not quite there yet, but that's what I'm working on. That's my goal. That's what every young hockey player's dream is to be in the NHL. So that's what he wants. So it's like, we got time, right? We were just gifted like an amazing player. We didn't expect him to kind of develop like this. I think he's ahead of schedule. So I think, just being kind of patient with him, he's definitely going to get that time. We know Igor Larionov just loves him so much. So he's definitely going to get his chance to shine. He wants to get more goals even this year as well. So I'm really not worried about this young man.
No, me neither. And I think that's a good point, too, that I forgot to mention. Like, the talk is always around him. There's always been that kind of murmur of like, well, will he ever actually come over? And based on reading the responses that he's had, it seems like that is a goal of his, to make the NHL. And Montreal's a team that has his control, and this dude genuinely wants to get better. He said he's trying, to learn like more language, more English, all this kind of stuff, trying to absorb stuff internationally. He's saying like how, Demidov naturally gets a little more attention because he's the higher picked prospect, all this stuff. But at the same time, we all love Bogdan. We should start the Konyushkov fan club here. If you want to be a member of the Konyushkov fan club, put a B in the chat for Bogdan. I want to see there's 124 of you in here, and if you're not chatting, you just need to subscribe to chat, by the way. It's completely free to hit subscribe. You can chat with all of us. I want to see everyone in the chat type of B for Bogdan. If you want to be part of the Bogdan fan club, maybe we have to make that a thing. We got Zen Mysterio, Chris, Sister Mercy, Shama already in here. The Bogdan fan club is starting off strong with 6 members, including us 7 as the Joester channel member. Thank you very much, Joester. And look, it's all rolling in. That's what we're doing. We got to start this now, Jesse. What do you think of that? A Bogdan fan club getting started here at Habs Digest?
Absolutely. We know, like, Habs fans love this young player, right? Just because, like, he's almost like such an oddity. We weren't expecting him, but he's just been playing so good. Like, he's got offense to his game. Like, we know, we just want to, like, he's going to grow. He's going to continue to develop, right? But he's a solid player. It's not just Demidov that we have in the KHL that might be part of this team in the future. I know we're being so blessed right now with Engstrom kind of coming out of the woodwork and all these others, but we can't forget about Konyushkov. What Bogdan did say, though, about his fellow countryman Demidov, though, recently, Josh, want to get your thought. He's saying that Demidov is going to amaze us.
Oh, yeah.
He says that this guy is the real deal. Get ready, Montreal, because this guy is going to shine. And Bogdan knows that for sure.
I think we all know that. I think it's awesome to see that his countrymen, even though he said he doesn't really know Demidov, I think like they've seen enough of him to know that this guy is going to be special. And we got Alex in the chat. Hey, Alex. I talked to Alex a little bit today. Alex, I hope your YouTube project's coming along pretty well. I'm excited to see that when it comes out. Jordan, channel member, saying, with all these young D-men, I worry my boy Arber might not have a spot in the future. I wouldn't be so worried about that. I think Arber is better than maybe some people give him credit for. Recently, there was a person, I forget who it was, but they said on a podcast that Arber was the best undrafted player they ever played against. So very cool. And we got George. Welcome into the chat, George Mayer, with me, part of official member of the Bogdan fan club. Now, Blanco saying I'm more of a Hudson fan club, but Bogdan can join us too. That's the thing. They can be separate fan clubs. We can be a fan of everyone. I just want to show Bogdan the love he deserves sometimes, because this guy, when it comes to like talented Habs prospects, for people that like if any other team had a prospect playing 20 odd minutes and was a captain at 20 years old over in the KHL as a defenseman, putting up crazy scoring numbers for a defenseman, Jesse, they'd be talking about him like crazy. And I feel like sometimes, I know Bogdan's like not the biggest guy. He definitely has some faults in his game. He needs to pick up his foot speed. There's a lot of room to grow, but like, I don't know, the pedigree's just there. And I like to give him the respect he deserves, right?
Yeah, solid drafting. And not only is he playing so well on the ice, but again, getting to see at such a young age is showing a lot of character, which we know is so important for this Montreal Canadiens organization, putting a huge emphasis on just good vibes in the room, being responsible for what you're bringing to the team. And Bogdan really fits that. And while he says, he's likening his time right now to kind of develop, like, it's nice to hear that, no, he knows what he wants to do and what he's really working on. And I really feel like it's almost for the best, because we got so many young D-men that we need a little bit of time. And just the fact that, like, we could be this growing team, maybe, I'm saying a playoff team by that point in time, and then having these solid prospects just kind of coming, joining an already good team. I don't know. I'm liking how that's all shaping up.
I mean, absolutely. And we got some good chats in here as well, like Pizza 603, new channel member as well as of last stream, I believe. Nice. Boys, Engstrom looks like a pro sooner than later. That's another guy, Jesse, Adam Engstrom, that we were talking about, putting up crazy games as a pro over in the SHL, and he was doing so good. And then he comes over and surprise, he looks like one of the most pro-ready defensemen that we have. So really good. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm like, I just ate before this. I'm like, I gotta chill myself out. We got Jay, who's part of the Bogdan fan club. Joel saying, good evening, Josh and Jesse. Good evening, Joel. Good to see you. Alex saying, thank you. I appreciate the clip. Yeah, I sent him the clip. Jesse, remember that Cayden Guhle clip where he like catches up to Owen Tippett skating backwards? Yeah.
That was a beauty.
Great clip. And Jordan saying, I sure hope so. He's a true blue old school defender with high offensive chance. That's the thing with Xhekaj. Jesse, we got Wazo Premier upgrading to the hat trick level tier. Thank you very much, Wazo Premier. You're now going to get your name in the base bar of these videos. You're going to get some perks. Thank you so much for choosing to support us, by the way. Again, we don't expect anyone to pay to support us, but we are beyond grateful for every one of you that does. And that's so many of you in the chat, which is unbelievable. Like Blanco, longtime channel member, our D prospect list looks like Marty's going to build a Chinese wall. I mean, you know what? Like, the Great Wall of Habs defense kind of sounds crazy. I mean, especially, I wish we could have seen some more out of the forwards in these games, Jesse, but honestly, just the pure potential that's on defense kind of makes me okay with that, especially since a lot of, like, the good young forwards are kind of already with the team,
Definitely. It's, we knew that our defensive prospects would kind of shine, but to have Engstrom just on top of that. But it kind of see like why our blue line is looking so good right now. You can really see why we wanted to draft Demidov and Xhekaj both in the first round. Get some forwards. We wanted, okay, our D line, our blue line's looking pretty good. We definitely want to just work on that side of the puck. Of course, Patrick Laine, the addition was part of just kind of added to that forward group. So I think this is like a Montreal Canadiens management that knows what this team needs all the time. They know when to kind of go for a bunch of goalies and to kind of spread it out and get a little bit of a mixed bag. And they know when to really focus and what this organization really needs as well. So again, it kind of leads to the thing of like, Xhekaj, it's going to be a couple of years before he's ready as well. But then adding a solid player like that, as we're kind of making this kind of shift right now is going to be so beneficial for this team that we're going to be getting these high-level prospects coming into the organization.
And the timeline's so cool, too, with so many young forwards as well. Like, Slav is still like 20, right? Like, you just kind of lose perspective sometimes when a guy like Slav is 20 and like Caufield's what, 23, 24, and then Dach is there and Newhook, they're all like under 25, and you're like, oh my gosh, okay. Like, these guys are all still in some way, I mean, maybe could be prospects, but anyway, I guess they're not. But still, unbelievable. Alex saying, I think Hutson surely makes the team, although I think Mayu's more physically ready. I think he'll get a shot. I have my reservations about Mayu after watching some of these games again. But I think we'll get into that. We might just get into that next, Jesse. We might go over these games from this weekend, but I'm going to read some more chats first. While the Premier is saying, I'll do it for the positivity and Jesse's smile. Well, we all do it for Jesse's
smile. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And we got Demo Station Live saying, hi, guys. Love your show. Well, thank you for being here. That Hudson's a lock. Alex is doing this YouTube project really made me realize how underrated Guhle is defensively. I think that's a big thing, too. I think people do underrate that a little more. So we got great show, guys. Hey, you guys, good vibes. And the first thing I did was press the like button. Well, Spawn17. I hope you're not the only one, because we got 200 people in here already. And if all of you hit that like button, we'd push right to the top of YouTube. We'd really appreciate if you guys could hit that like button. It's free, it's easy, it helps us out. You get to see the number go up when you click a button. I've said this so many times, but it makes me happy when I click buttons and the numbers go up. So if you guys want to help us out, we'd really appreciate it. That's honestly one of the best things you could possibly do. Jordan saying, do we know what the KHL season plays still? If Montreal can sneak a postseason game, is there any chance Demidov can be brought to North America? I'm pretty sure, like, the KHL season ends weeks, if not even a month before the end of the NHL season. Like, there's time. I think there's at least a couple weeks there where the KHL season's over and players can come over. I mean, that's what some people have been speculating already, Jesse, that Demidov could potentially be over before the end of the season, though. I mean, I'm not going to hold out hope for that, but I think it is possible.
I love that we're getting to this. We need to think ahead. The future is now. So I love that your mind is going there, because absolutely that is a possibility that Demidov could be with the Montreal Canadiens before the season's done. Maybe kind of similar to Hudson and Mayu, of just, even if it's just a couple games at the end of the season, we've seen that can be so beneficial for a player. Just a couple games, maybe not too much if they're not quite ready. Gives them a chance to really experience the game and then know going in the summer what they need to improve on, as well as just having the motivation of having played in that, just getting that sense. Like, for Hudson and for Mayu, you could tell that it helped them a lot. Just that little bit of experience of knowing, okay, this is probably what I need to do better. This is the speed, because you can kind of think it, you can visualize it, but until you're in that game, really experiencing it, that's what it really comes up to. That's what's so important for these young players. And yes, I do believe that Ivan Demidov would be ready for it by the end of this season.
Actually, Polanco's KHL ends in late February. I didn't realize it was that early. I don't know what the process is like for getting someone over, but imagine, like Jordan says. We got so many comments. We got to get to some of the topics as well, but I'm going to answer this last one before we get into the stuff. Alex saying, here's the question. Assuming Laine wants more than Caufield and Potts 40 plus, how much would you be willing to sign him and how long? I'm not sure the number for me, but I wouldn't go more than 6 years. Oh boy, that's a tough question. I've thought about it naturally, like what it would take to extend Laine. If he wants more than Caufield, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's really dependent on what we see this year. I think you could see anything from a 3-4 year extension to a 5 or 6 year extension at varying numbers, anywhere from, 7 million all the way up to like 8.5 plus. Like, I think he's such a wild card that it's very tough to predict right now. And I think we'll have to see. Again, if you're assuming he gets 40 plus, in that case, I'd definitely go to the higher end of that scale. But to nail something specific down, I think it's tough. Do you have any idea, Jesse?
Yeah, well, if he ends up potting 40 goals this year and next, he's just worth that contract as he has right now. And then we're getting a second round pick for free out of it. So that's a big caveat. Like, can Laine do it? Because he'd be doing us a serious solid by making that happen. I mentioned you, Josh, like, just personally, that I do feel that, like, there's a good chance, like, if things are going well and the good vibes continue, like, we're seeing, like, that Laine will want to finish his career off in Montreal. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but in an ideal situation, you got to feel for a player. He's jumped around a lot, not always been the most positive situations, with some other teams. If he comes here and he finds a home, feels comfortable, of course, he's going to want to grow roots. And of course, that could be hugely beneficial for the Montreal Canadiens and for Laine as well, of having that stability, having that high-end goal scorer, adding to that stable that we really need so much. So, of course, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Like myself, I would definitely wait even more than a year before offering any type of contract. I'd be waiting, but if we're having solid production after a year, year and a half, then I feel really comfortable offering something solid, and again, I'd probably want to go maybe the 3-4 years, just given the injury history, even though there is such upside, probably just to keep it on the safe side still. But you have to feel, okay, Hughes has shown in the past that there are benefits in the right situation if you have the right intel, speaking to the player every day, of signing to them to long-term deals.
Yeah, and again, there's always going to be injury worries with him, so maybe a longer-term deal would come with a lower cap hit. Also depends what other teams sign him for, but if he loves Montreal, maybe he'll stay in a discount. But we got to get into some of the other stuff, because there's a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about, and I want to start with something that we heard from Cayden and Guhle. Now, they were all at the golf tournament today, people getting interviewed by people all over the place, but this Guhle clip comes from TSN, and it's linked down below. It's an audio clip, and I wanted to show it to you guys. So they were asking him a bunch of questions. First and foremost, Guhle was saying how excited they are to go, and I think, he was really implying that the Habs could go for it this year. This playoff atmosphere surrounding Montreal already. But one of the more interesting things that I took from this clip was, he said, I honestly don't care when asked about which side he prefers to play on defense. Wherever the team needs me to go, I'll be there. I took most of my reps on the right side this summer to get more ready for that. So, Jesse, this to me tells me a little bit more about the Habs plan. I sort of expected this, especially when you're looking at who the Habs have in the depth chart, right? Who else they're going to end up bringing up. Playing Guhle with Matheson does make sense. But we were talking about maybe bringing Guhle back to the left side, but I don't mind this, because I know it's tough for him to play on the right side, but this could seriously develop him into one of those guys that he can be a high-end defender that can play either side at a high level. And I think that in and of itself is an extremely valuable trait. So I kind of really like the fact that they're sticking with this for now, even if maybe he's technically better on the left.
Yeah, and I think that this is only kind of for right now. He's really doing a solid to this team while being able to do this, while Reinbacher, while Mayu kind of take those steps further up, which we are sure that we will. Those are two NHL quality players right there, absolutely. But just Kaiden Guhle being able to do it all, right? And you got to love that everybody's kind of on the same page about kind of turning that gear and wanting to be more competitive this year. And that's what I love. It's not just the players, Josh, that are competitive, but it's also the management. I get that sense from Jeff Gordon so much. This is an executive that is so competitive. He wants to win. He's being patient. He's doing what he needs to do for the team. But he did a solid service for us for being patient when he wanted to make those deals to kind of help speed it up and get this team to be more competitive again. But now everybody's on the same message. Guhle being one of the leaders of this team, he's getting out that message we want to start taking that next level. And that's what I like about this organization is having winners, having guys that want to be competitive. And speaking of which, Lane Hutson is very much like that as well. And I don't think we want to underrate the fact of having a player like Lane Hutson who hated losing these two preseason rookie showcase games. Even if they're just exhibition games, Lane Hutson absolutely hates losing under any circumstances. So when you have players like that on your team and that they just hate it too much, that they're just going to do their darnest every night to make sure that doesn't happen, it has an effect just on that overall locker room. Of course, when you're taking steps to make the team more competitive and kind of fuel that spirit that this team does have to compete, I think it just creates this really solid environment.
And you know what? There's a lot of people in chat right after we brought that up. A lot of people in chat, including Alex, saying a Hutson and Guhle pairing. Blanco, Guhle playing on the right, isn't Hutson on the left? I mean, you never know. I actually think Guhle makes for a very if you assume he's comfortable on the right side, I think that's just play style wise, that's a very natural pairing, right? And Guhle is such a fast skater as well, solid defensively. He can cover for a few of Hudson's kind of weaknesses while still remaining fast. If Hudson gets beat going back the ice, Guhle is one of the better guys, I would say, in the NHL at just straight up speeding back to cover for that. So I think that'd be really interesting if we saw that. For now, I think it will probably just be Guhle Matheson. that is your best defensive pairing objectively, but I think there'll be some experimentation. But there's a lot more stuff we have to get into. Hello, Image One Nation, and hello, everyone else who is coming into the chat. Thank you so much for being there. Frank Daig as well. These High2 channel members, these people who have been around for so long, thank you so much. We're at 230 viewers. I'm going to take this time, now that we have 230 viewers, to just ask you guys to subscribe, because I don't think I have the picture here. Do I have it here? I think I got it here. Let's see if I have it. There it is. Half of you guys, basically, watching this, half of you in this stream are not subscribed. That's over 100 of you who are here right now, statistically. So we're trying to hit 15,000 before the season starts. I know we told you guys, I know I ask it in a lot of videos, but I know it's an insane goal. But I genuinely think we can do it if we rally behind it, we really get ready in the next few weeks towards the season. It's pretty crazy, I know, but if you want to help us out, it's completely free again. And if you subscribe, you can send chats in here, chat with us directly. It's going to be great. Let's move on, Jesse, though. Some more comments from the golf tournament today, and we have, there's so much fun stuff we can get into today, but I want to move on to the golf tournament. So we'll move off of Guhle, we'll move into some other stuff. I have Guhle's quotes here. We're going to change it to Mr. Martin St. Louis. And he had some comments about Patrick Laine. He said, I want Patrick Laine, or him, to be excited to play hockey. I want him to have that passion. I want him to be excited to come to the rink no matter what I do. If he doesn't have that passion, nothing else will stick. And, that's one of the things, I don't even think people have necessarily questioned that about Laine, but it's a very straight to the point quote from Marty St. Louis. Like, he gotta have that passion. And then Patrick Laine followed that up with saying, I feel like there's no better place to play in terms of a hockey market. I'm super excited, obviously, to be here. Finally, having these fans on my side for once. But Jesse, what ties this all together, I think, is the fact that we heard today that, well, not Adam Engstrom, it's actually this, that Martin St. Louis says that he will be taking over the power play duties with Alex Burrows moving on from the coaching staff. What better combination could you have? Patrick Laine, who is, like, it sounds like he's more excited to play in Montreal than any other place in his career. Of course, coming from Winnipeg and Columbus. I mean, Montreal is like one of the best spots, if not the best spot to play in the NHL if you don't mind that pressure, which he doesn't. Martin St. Louis saying, like, I want him to enjoy it. I want him to have fun. And Martin St. Louis is now going to have that opportunity to control this power play with one of the best at his best. Patrick Laine is one of the best power play threats in the league. It's all coming together, Jesse. This whole trio of things today has just, maybe more than anything in the last few days, even with all this prospect stuff, has just made me say, oh man, I cannot wait to see that manifest itself on the ice.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for this team. I am such a fan of hearing this news. Martin St. Louis taking ownership really over the power play. One of the parts of the team that needs the most love. And if we're talking about kicking tires on the playoffs, getting the power play right is going to be one of the most important things to making that happen. But with Martin St. Louis at the helm, Hall of Famer, we got a sniper in Patrick Laine, we got Caufield. We know, like, that new unit, again, they've been putting that work early on this season to really get prepared. And, you just got to feel really excited about all this. And the fact that it's like, Laine came to Montreal, a big part in Marty, because he just likes the style of hockey that we play. And he said he wants to make, wants it to be a positive experience for him again. So just hearing that Marty, he says, like, this is my approach. Like, this is how I'm going to coach Laine, is like wanting to have fun, creating a good environment, which, like, it's not a surprise, right, Josh? Because we know, like, this is Marty's philosophy. We've heard even people like Cole Caufield say it, like, all the time. If you're coming into work and you're having fun, you're just going to naturally do better. You're going to be just a little bit more fluid, right? You're not going to be as tense. You're going to feel like you have the ability to make decisions and be put in a position to succeed, which is obviously what they're going to be doing by having Laine on PP1. He wants to hit that 40 goals. He wants to be that sniper, that elite goal scorer again. He feels like with Marty that this can really happen. So I feel like this was a huge thing for this team. I'm really curious to see, like, what changes is Marty going to put in place? Obviously, the personnel helps a lot. And we know that he hasn't been able to go too deep, like, into his concepts yet. He said, we didn't even really get into the power play that much, even when Burrows was kind of controlling it, because we had other things to take care of. Mm-hmm. But now, as we're getting a Marty version, 3.0, it's like now he's able to start giving a little bit more to this young team. Now with this personnel coming together, the experience of this young group, and also them playing together, I think that that's going to bear some tangible fruit for this team this year.
As you were going through that, like everything Marty's doing, Marty version 3.0, he's getting better and better. I'm just picturing, like the 5 pieces of Exodia coming together. Martin St. Louis, now the goalie coach. He's the defensive coordinator. He's doing everything, right? No, I mean, I digress, but he'll still be phenomenal. But you're very right, Jesse. Like, he's the kind of guy that I think this is actually kind of perfect, because like you said, like you very eloquently put, like, he's the guy that can bring that motivation. He's the guy that the players genuinely want to play for. They want to go to battle for. He's the guy that makes it fun to play the game. And when you have a guy who arguably has maybe not had the most fun playing the game, has had his own struggles in line, like, this is just perfect. And now for him to control the power play, where you have so many guys who are genuinely excited to play every single day. Like, you have a guy like Caufield and Slav who are so smiling and happy all the time. Suzuki is doing Suzuki things. He loves it too. He's always talking about how much he loves Marty. And now to just add Line to that mix, I think it's absolutely amazing. So, I'm looking through the chat here. I think a lot of people are excited about that. So actually, a lot of people are just saying to hit the like button. Look at that. We're at 99 likes. We got to hit 100 now. Look at that. I mean, I don't even... You guys are taking part of my job. I mean, it's great when I don't have to do that. Look at that. 227 people, only 80 likes. Come on, guys. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all you guys saying that. Oh my gosh. We got a lot of people in here. I'm going to try and read some chats here that are not that. So thank you everyone who was saying that as well. Real Milton Bradley, Wilds of Premier, Joseph Donovan, Image Nation. So many of you in here. And we got Alex saying, I swear Marty was always in charge of the PP. Burrows was a consultant. I'm pretty sure Burrows was more in charge and Marty was a consultant from what I understood, but it was more that Marty had the last call, because ultimately when it comes time for the game, he's the one executing it. But from what I understand, Burrows was kind of the mind behind it and the setup and that whole... you know what, Jesse? Do you think we'll see the drop back pass still be there this year? Do you think that's going to be gone by the wayside?
I know that Montreal isn't the only team that does it, but I really hope that it's gone. And again, like Alex Burrows was a tremendous hockey player in his time in the NHL. But if we are looking at point production, of what Marty St. Louis did in the NHL and Alex Burrows, there is a difference there. And when we are talking about the power play, it's all about percentages. It's all about goals, essentially, right? Like, you really need to convert on. It's really those metrics that matter the most. So you have to feel like, again, Marty's a guy that reads the game so well. So expect to see some unorthodox things that you don't normally see all the time. He's going to be a little bit more creative, but he's been given free reign. And you know what? We trust Marty. He's getting the tools to make this team a little bit better. And I think that this year is going to be much fairer to kind of give an assessment of where he's at as a head coach, now that he's had a little bit of time to really execute his vision with this team. So I do hope that goes by the wayside. That being said, it's like, even if they do keep it, I think with the personnel that we do have now, that's definitely going to have a huge effect. And I think just a solid complement of players. You have Suzuki and Caufield, obviously, like a playmaker to sniper combo, amazing. You got Slaf and Line, obviously a really good playmaker to sniper. But the best part is that, Slaf and Suzuki can both shoot as well, right? So you just got so many threats. We know how good Matheson is as well offensively. But having Hudson in there, I feel like Marty St. Louis is going to have a lot of fun coaching Lane Hutson on the power play, because you have to feel like these players are going to get along. Smaller players can succeed at the NHL level. We've seen several phenomenal examples. Obviously, Marty St. Louis is one of them, but, Hudson is very much, comes from that same tradition, right? They're a little bit smaller, but do they ever compete? They're just so competitive. They care what they do. They bring such passion and such skill, next level IQ to the game. So for me, that's just going to be tremendously exciting hockey to watch.
I mean, yeah, I can't wait. Lane Hutson is bringing people off his feet already. But again, like you said, it's not just him. It's just, there's so many guys that on any given night can just be an absolute joy to watch on the ice with their mastery of it. Like, we had so many games, like I missed Kirby Dach last year because there were so many games the year before where you were like, whoa. Like, yeah, this guy shows flashes of being a number one center with some of his playmaking board work. Like, it's unbelievable. And then Lane bringing people out of his seats. Caufield always being exciting, being the smallest guy in the ice, pulling the stuff he does. Line having one of the best shots in the entire NHL. Suzuki just doing some magic. Slav with his crazy stuff. There's so many amazing things. So, really good stuff. I'm going to take a look through the chat here. We got Jean-Maurice saying, yes, thanks for the sub. Hey, yeah, look, no problem, Jean-Maurice. Glad that you're now a channel member. Now we read your chats. Frank saying, quick question. Do you guys think you'll go on Spotify soon? We were on Spotify for a while. A lot of our episodes up until sometime in July or August were there. Unfortunately, that had to stop. We do have plans to bring that back, so don't worry. We'll be trying to come back very soon. So keep an eye on that. As long as I can hold that blue line so many times that PP's ruined because the puck scored to neutral. I really hope so.
Exactly.
Dude, I hope so.
Exactly.
No, man. I like much Owen Beck. He had a good Sunday. He's above Farrell, Meshar, Heineman, and others. I would agree. I think Owen Beck looked arguably... I mean, other than like even Engstrom and Hudson, whatever, Beck was straight up one of the most NHL ready guys. I think we'll get into that in a minute when we get into those talks. There are a lot of people saying you guys are the best. Go Avs, go! Thank you so much. I think it's going to be a lot more controlled entries with I think with deception. I think that's right. those entries with deception that Suzuki did a lot of times. Like, I think and Matheson sometimes, like, some really good stuff there. Best English Habs podcast. Thank you so much, John Movies. Really appreciate that. Talking about Crosby as he signed his 2-year extension, of course. John Smith saying evening was at both games. We got people talking about Torpedo. Can't wait for the preseason. George says, I just like the stream. I usually do that first, but forgot today. Thanks for the reminders. Loving the show, guys. Missing you all. Well, love having you here, George. It's always fantastic to have you here. Thank you for liking the stream. It's great to have every one of you in here. But you know what, Jesse, I think we do have to get into Hudson, but since the talk is all about these prospects, why not get into that? And I have some videos. I don't have videos from the Saturday, but I do have the videos from yesterday. The one I have from Saturday is Lane Hutson. I might actually be able to bring some other ones in. Actually, can I get the Beck goal? You know what? We're going to get the Beck goal. You might get a little thing pop up on the screen here. Let me shrink that. That's just my files. We're going to try and bring the Beck goal in here. Let's see. There's Beck. So we're going to bring this in. So let's start with some of these things. There's Owen Beck's goal. Now, that was a kind of a squeaker goal, but a lot of the Habs goals were pretty good, Jesse. Honestly, I know that one was a squeaker, but the Habs were kind of going on a bit of a tear, getting a lot of really nice goals here. Here's the start of a 2-goal sequence with the Mayu one-timer. Heineman there on the doorstep to clean it up, as I'm glad to see Heineman getting a goal there. Mayu playing like a winger. And then we got another little play here as Jared Davidson finishes it. But maybe one of the most impressive goals of the weekend, I know we had that Mayu off the corner, but it was the Torpedo, or the Thorpenator, whatever you want to call him, Tyler Thorpe being close. And he also had the one-timer on Saturday night. There were look at the defender just falling off of Florian Xhekaj, little move. There were so many amazing things coming out of that, coming out of this weekend. Actually, before I get into that, Jesse, I just want to highlight this super chat, because we got $5 from John Raymond, just encouraging folks to join the team and support this awesome content. Much love to Gosse and Jesse. Well, John, that is so kind of you. Thank you so much. And again, if we don't expect anyone to pay us or donate or get channel memberships or anything, but for the people that do, again, it really helps us do this every single day. It helps fund this project, and we genuinely really appreciate that. So maybe a note on that, Jesse, but also on that same note, talking about how so many of these guys have impressed beyond our expectations this weekend.
No, it's absolutely so true. And it's kind of what we expected. We can't read too much into those games. We know we got goalied a little bit, but we know we got those solid goalie prospects coming up. But absolutely, Beck, he's going to be pushing at camp. And so there's been a lot of rumors about a possible Dvorak trade kind of before the season. Mm-hmm. Are they going to wait a little bit, let Beck season a little bit? For me, I feel like the future is now, if you're able to if you feel like Beck has a solid camp, if you're Kent Hughes, you're going to have to be feeling getting into that season a little bit. You're not going to want to wait too long, because if you are wanting to be in the mix, what that now means is we're trying to make the team as competitive at every position, where experience is going to matter, but it's going to start to matter less and less as we're really starting to take that step into trying to get in the playoffs, because every single game matters. And Marty St. Louis is going to want to put in whoever he feels gives this team the best chance of winning. Now, for myself, Josh, I might be a little bit biased. I might be wrong on this, but honestly, I would feel more comfortable, having Owen Beck. I know that Dvorak's been a great mentor on this team, has been a great leader in a lot of ways. He gets along so well with this entire core. But I would feel more confident. I would feel like having a Beck already. I'm just a believer in his game. I always have been. I think it translates super well. He did unreal in the testings, by the way. This guy's a physical specimen. If you want another reason of why you think his game will translate, why he's ready for the NHL, is for me, I'm putting Beck in my lineup. I know he's young. I know he maybe might need a little bit more time, but I feel like Beck could show us more at Dvorak. And if we want to be in the mix, we need to start getting that. We can't wait too far in the season to start making those moves.
That's true, but and it's a logical replacement too. Him over, and I mean, Dvorak and Evans, even if they don't get moved, they're UFAs this offseason, and bringing in Beck, that's just what you have to do at this point. I just think he is the guy that's designed to fill this bottom six role, and he's shown a lot of good stuff already. And if he continues to show that, I think giving him a shot there just makes sense. As much as it would hurt to lose a guy like Evans, and look, I got nothing against Dvorak. He hasn't lived up to his contract, but he's not a bad bottom six center if you ignore the cap hit, right? So it's he's not a guy I wouldn't want to have back if it was a small contract. If you imagine you're paying Dvorak $1.5 million a season, I think we'd all be a lot happier with what he brings. But at the end of the day, bringing in a younger guy like Owen Beck, who's going to be on an even smaller cap hit, just makes sense for Montreal. That's the whole point of getting these draft picks and developing these players, is to replace aging guys who are going to command a little bit more money, because the more production you get out of your young guys on smaller contracts, the better you're going to be. And speaking of that, I saw some comments here about Adam Engstrom, so I'm actually going to bring this in as well, just to highlight some Engstrom stuff. Of course, he had that snipe, that insane snipe, and a sick celly afterwards as well. But then some of these moves here around the Leafs, just looking like the most like just the most mature player on the ice sometimes. Look at this. Whoop, see ya. Spin along the boards. It doesn't even matter. I am gone, and I'm starting a break. Adam Engstrom, too, Jesse. I know I had that picture I accidentally brought up earlier. This guy was really good in the SHL. Any quick thoughts on him? Because the chat was showing him a ton of love, and I just wanted to highlight him before we move on to the final Lane Hutson stuff.
Couple thoughts. He's got incredible poise.
Oh, yeah.
He can skate. He can shoot. He's got confidence making those plays in his own defensive zone, pulling spinoramas coming out of your own defensive zone. Like, that's the thing that this management wants to see. Not only did he do this play, he was successful in it, but having the courage to make these type of plays, because in the NHL, if you don't take your opportunities, if you don't take the opportunity to show how talented you are when you get it, you might never get that moment again. So Adam Engstrom is completely seizing it. He's knowing what he needs to do. And we knew that there was some solid, skill in his game. Of course, the numbers were showing it, but seeing it here at the Bell Center on North American ice, that's just taking it to a whole nother level of what this player is capable of doing. Yes, he is extremely talented, and we've maybe even been underrating him a little bit, but we've just been so many blessed. We have so many prospects to keep on, right? Of course, this is why we do this, Josh. There's so many amazing players that we need to keep tabs on because they're doing big things, and they definitely deserve to be recognized for it. So Adam Engstrom has to feel real solid about his camp, but the question is, what is he going to do at the main training camp? Because you have to feel like he's not done. Like, his coach felt like this is a guy that could make the NHL. Of course, maybe he was a little bit biased, the fact, really liking his game, but we're seeing what he's bringing to the table now. Like, objectively speaking, he is playing very good hockey, and he's going to get a second look from Habs management.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I think he looked really, really good, and I'm excited to see what he does in camp because he's shown to be mature. I saw someone say he wasn't as physical as I anticipated. Jean Maurice. It's like, yeah, but I don't really expect him to be that physical. Like, that's not really his game. He's more of a skilled defenseman who is quite solid defensively, but arguably better offensively. That's kind of where he really brings his game. So there's a lot of good stuff here. My gosh, we got a lot of chats I got to get into. The first thing I want to highlight, though, is the super chat from John Smith. Simply just $6.99. John, I saw you in the chat earlier. I believe I answered a few messages anyway, but thank you so much for the $6.99. John's first super chat in the stream. Guys, leave a like on that super chat. Someone sending their first super chat ever. That deserves a bit more love from the fans. They're unbelievable. Thank you so much, John. I'm going to scroll back a little bit in the chat here. Beck is at least a second line Rocket. Oh, yeah, for sure. If he's in Laval, he'll be at least second line. Beck's ready to take the step forward. Does Devo or Evans get traded? One of them maybe, but I also don't mind just not rushing him. If the spot's not there, it's not there, but you prepare him to take that spot as soon as it's available. And I think that's what they probably should do. I'll be at the season opener versus the Leafs. Joel, you should enjoy that. That's going to be unbelievable. Get Thorpe, says Image One Nation. Jealous of Joel. Not sure if there's a place for Mayu in Montreal. Barron's ahead because he can't go to Laval. I'd agree, and I also think Mayu just some of the decision making and some of the play in his own zone is still like I just worry that at the NHL level, you're going to see that manifest in a way that fans are not going to be happy with. We did see it with Barron a bit. We saw fans start to turn on Barron. I don't want that to happen to Mayu. I wouldn't mind him in Laval, but I mean, his offensive game is more than good enough, I think, already. Like, he's showing to be unbelievable. Did I dream or did someone want to trade Suzuki? I hope you dreamt. I didn't see that. We got someone say, Reinbacher's average for my expectations. People saying, hi, Frank, if he can put on 20 pounds. Hi, Frank. Yeah, hi, Frank. Welcome back in. So, Jesse, maybe a quick talk on Reinbacher. I know we got to get to Hudson, but that comment just was interesting because I guess he is one of these top Habs prospects as well. And what were your thoughts about Reinbacher this weekend?
He did a couple subtle plays, which really led to goals. He's never going to be like that maybe flashy player, at least early on in his NHL career. But I just feel like he's going to do a lot of things right, that really the coaches are going to like, that not everybody sees, but that contributes to winning hockey. He led a couple of those goals that the Habs scored in this prospect game were directly from his involvement. And he's not afraid to get deep in the offensive zone, as we saw, finding some nice seams as well. Like, for me, he's just a player that, again, when you just skate so well, when you have that poise, kind of similar to Engstrom in a lot of ways. Like, I'm just really not worried. And what Reinbacher has is just a little bit more of that size. Now, Engstrom's maybe showing out a little bit more early on, but we can't discount Reinbacher at all. Just for me, that game translates so well. I'm really not worried. And with these processes, we always need to remember that it's like, there is a huge development path here, and we really can't be too quick to be making kind of decisions on where they're going to end up, because as we've seen with Slav, as we see, with lots of players, it kind of takes a little bit of time for them to come in their own, especially bigger guys that as they just grew a lot, and they're still kind of coming into their body, kind of getting mastery over themselves as they obviously grow. And we've seen Reinbacher's, become a man in front of our eyes. It would seem in like the last couple of weeks. And I think he's going to shape up to be, one heck of a real good hockey player.
I think so too. But there's a lot of challenge on that right side. I see even more comments here, like from Jean-Marie saying, Mayu's better player than Barron, but he can't go to Laval. You could argue that, but Jesse, I feel like people forget that if you extrapolate Barron's offensive production from last year over an 82-game season, he was on a 12-goal pace as a 21-year-old defenseman who was playing second and third pairing. And he didn't play very much power play at all. That is extremely good. It's hard to do that ever at the NHL level. So, I don't know. I know we're not happy with Barron in his own zone. Maybe I'm a bit more of a Barron truther than some other people, but I feel like he's still quite good. And I don't know. I know, Jesse, I have my worries about Mayu, maybe more than a lot of fans, but I can see you got some thoughts on that too.
The numbers don't lie. With Justin Barron, again, that same point about prospects and not being too quick to kind of judge is I think Barron's a really good example. The last thing you want to do is be trading this young player and then just go watch him kind of flourish somewhere else. So the Habs, they're going to be patient, right? And they're going to know when to kind of hold on their cards and evaluate, but they're not going to be too quick to kind of discard ahead of what they need to, because obviously there is some solid production in his game. Of course, it's hard to be a master of every single part. A lot of the same things that Mayu needs to improve on, Barron as well, right? But we know this is a team that needs that goal scoring, and more than ever, offense is coming from that back end. So you need defenders. That's the new NHL. And you have to feel like the blue line for the Montreal Canadiens is such a perfect, place to really take advantage of that brand of hockey. Exactly. So for me, this year's obviously going to be big with Barron. He's gotten tons of competition. Sure, getting rid of Harris, Kovacevic, these moves help a lot, but Barron's feeling the pressure. So it's this season, I think we're going to get a really good feel of what his future is with the Montreal Canadiens, but we know that there's offense in this guy's game.
For sure. You got Jean-Marie saying Josh Barron, Gosse. I'm just saying, if Barron goes off and the fan base does a 180 and they're like, holy crap, this guy's incredible, you can come right back here. Because I'm telling you, I'm not saying he's going to be some superstar. I just think he got more potential than I think a lot of the fan base is giving him credit for. But I digress. I'll leave it there. I'm just going to plant that thought in your guys' head. But the last thing, before we get into Lane Hutson, just one more time. I hate to do this again, but guys, I told you, we got that goal of 15,000 subscribers before the season starts. It's a crazy goal, but we got 100 more people in here now than we did when I asked this earlier in the stream. Statistically, about 150 of you in here in this stream right now watching or not subscribed. So if you want to help us reach that goal, you like this content every single day, we'd really appreciate it. But Jesse, it's time. Oh no, is this not working? Oh, I sure hope that. Wait, are my hotkeys working? Oh, they are still working. Thank goodness. Oh, that's because I was pressing the wrong button. Panic aside, it's time to get into our boy, Lane Hutson, Jesse. And oh boy, weren't you thrilled with that comment from Elliot Friedman today? My goodness, on 32 Thoughts, this is what Friedman had to say about Lane Hutson. One of the players texted me and said that Lane Hutson's going to make a run for the Calder this year. In the captain skates the Canadiens have been having, they're saying, can you believe what this guy can do? The Montreal guys believe this guy is the real deal. This is, look, I know we all say this about Lane Hutson, but to hear this confidence coming from the org itself and to hear Friedman seemingly getting you could feel the vibe in the podcast between Kyle Bukauskas and Elliot Friedman. Are we reporting on a vibe in a podcast? Yes, but it was also about what Elliot Friedman says. When he says these things, he is tuned in saying people are saying Lane Hutson can be something special. We saw Arpen Basu's article about Lane Hutson, how he's already convinced. Sometimes it takes a bit to convince Arpen. He's all in. He even said, maybe it's premature, but I don't care. I've seen enough. And we have seen enough. We're playing the highlights. We're playing the highlight reel for everyone here. This is from Saturday. And that shootout goal was unbelievable. But it was this here. This play here was unbelievable. Winning the foot race down the ice, never giving up, getting it back, nearly scoring a goal. And of course, this here, where he was just jumping around every single Leafs player. We also saw him, get some reps on the power play with Logan Mayu. And those two were working really well together. But it's not just that. I think I have something else here. We're going to play this one. This is the rush from Sunday, where he was about a millimeter away from scoring a goal. The Lane Hutson hype train has gone bananas, right? The whole Bell Center, people were shocked at how sold out the crowd was at the Bell Center. Fans from other teams didn't even understand how this could happen. Now, the tickets being $12 definitely helped it out. But Jesse, the crowd was erupting for everything Hutson did. There was a play where he seemingly spun and passed to himself 2 times. He lost the puck, but It feels like he's playing a game, seeing how far he can push it to get away with it. We saw him play against Detroit last year, but this hype it was already a little bit beyond the Habs fan base, with certain reporters, certain analysts really singing his praises. But to have Friedman say this kind of thing confidently and happily on his podcast, to see that this feeling is not just within us, within the Habs fans, it's within the Habs team, it's within the Habs fan base, and arguably now within the greater NHL. I'm done my monologue about Lane Hutson, but I just cannot get over how exciting this player is to watch.
If you like watching highlight reel goals, watch the Habs this summer, subscribe to Habs Digest, because this guy's going to be doing it all. And we see that the hype is like, it's not just here from us, not just from Friedman, but it's players, not just on the Habs, but across the league. Like, the memo's out. And it's the players that really know, and the coaches, right? So it's like, when they're saying these things, it absolutely takes it to another level. Like, Pascal Vincent, he wasn't shy in his praise at all. He was giving comparisons to Adam Fox, where he said, this is a guy that he just adjusts to the game no matter what kind of comes.
You've said that too.
He's just ready for it. Absolutely. And like, it's just been so evident. That's why we believe, like, even before this camp, I didn't even need to see those two prospects games. Like, this guy is making the big club this year. This guy is ready for it. Why? Because Lane Hutson's going to grow with the Habs, and the Habs are going to grow with Lane Hutson. That's the best part of him, is having a player that's this intelligent. He needs to be at the next level. He needs to have players that can process the game at the same speed as him, in order not only to make himself better, but the team. We're not just doing this to give Lane Hutson more hype. We're saying this because this is what's better for the Montreal Canadiens. And again, the skill is all great. We see lots of players that have tons of skill, talent, and everything. But if you don't have that compete, if you don't have that passion and desire for the game, it's really not going to take you to where you want to go, and certainly not of being a Stanley Cup champion. But again, Pascal Vincent was just singing Lane Hutson praise. That's like, he basically said, without saying, like, yeah, I'm not going to be coaching this guy, because he feels like Lane Hutson, like, those offensive skills are great, but like, his greatest skill is almost his passion and his desire for the game.
You can't teach that, right? Like, you either have that or you don't, and it's all on the person to get that motivation wherever it may come from. And when you're watching Lane Hutson, I mean, it's so evident how hard he works. These stories about him with his brothers working in the off season in like barns, basically, right? Like, they're doing some crazy stuff, and I'm just beyond excited. There's a lot of people in the chat here super excited. Jean-Maurice saying Hutson will be in the mix for Calder. If he doesn't get a concussion, he could be there. Let's not knock on that door yet. I know he's small, but lots of small players don't get concussions. And Alex said, does Caufield get concussions? I mean, Gallagher, did he get a concussion at some point? Maybe he did. Still, though, and he's super physical. At least he doesn't have multiple, right? So anyway, but that's the thing, right? So there's so many things. I mean, I don't know. Like, I definitely get it. There is that injury concern, and as Zachary Dubé points out, like, I still do want to see his defensive game. But guys, when we're talking about the Calder Trophy, who cares about defense? Like, let's be honest. The voters are going out there. They're looking at the point production. Now, I know Brock Faber last year was just absolutely phenomenal for Minnesota, but even he scored 40-odd points, right? And, he was also very solid defensively. The advanced analytics didn't necessarily love him, but again, the people voting for Calder don't look at those. So I'm just saying, like, it's not going to take a crazy season. If Lane, now, he's probably going to need 50 or 60 points as a defenseman if he genuinely wants a real shot to win it, unless the rest of the rookie class just underperforms. But there's a ton of really good rookies coming in this year. Of course, you got Celebrini. Of course, you got Will Smith. And I think Nikishin, I think he's coming over this year as well. I could be wrong. And I think the Wild, is Juraj playing this year? I don't know. Anyway, regardless, though, there's way more than just that. There's a lot of really good players who are going to get a shot this year. But I think Hutson can genuinely be in the mix, Jesse. But, if he does make Montreal, you got to assume he's going to be third pairing out the gate. Just because, right? You maybe give him some power play time. You don't want to put him out there against, the best players on the other team the whole night. Like, that's the last thing you want to do with a guy like Lane Hutson, playing him in matchups where he might have the chance to get abused defensively. So if you're putting him on like the third pairing, like, who do you put with him? David Savard, I think, is not the craziest choice in the world, though, he can cover for some of the defensive laps, but he's not that fast. And do you really want to play Savard in the third pairing? If Guhle's with Matheson, like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I'm trying to think through, and I don't know who the ideal partner is. I think it might be Guhle, but I'm just not sold that the Habs will do that right out the gate.
Which kind of almost lands him in that second pairing when we've made some of our projections going the season. Like, I definitely get, it makes sense in a lot of ways if you can to have him on that third pairing, but just considering who you'd be having with, whether that's kind of like, I would say like a Barron, obviously, if he's on that third pairing, right D, isn't the ideal candidate to have with Lane Hutson. Struble could work, and he will be in the mix. with the team this year. We know Arber can play as off
Yep.
wing, but it almost seems to naturally fall kind of with David Savard, just for the reason that you kind of mentioned there. Of course, Guhle at some point I think would be amazing, like experiment to have for just really two smooth playing guys, because like Guhle can do it all. He can really support, Lane offensively and then also cover for him defensively. But I think having a little bit of that size and that kind of like physical presence in Savard in a way is a solid fit. Now we know Savard, there's a good chance that he's not going to be with this team for the entire year. So who will Lane Hutson's partner kind of become at that point in time? Obviously, we got a couple players in the mix that we don't necessarily need to rush, but you have to feel like those spots are going to be available for them. So I think that can be something that changes. I am interested to see a Hutson and Reinbacher combination sometime in the future as well. Again, just the smooth skating kind of type of defenseman like that. I really got a lot of faith in Reinbacher again, thinking the game at a very high level. But I would just naturally have to, it's interesting, maybe that second and third pairing are getting about equal amounts of time, and it's kind of, relative of what you're calling which. But I would just have to stick him with Savard right now. At the present being,
like, you got a guy like Bogdan who's playing 20 minutes a night and playing in big part because he's playing almost 3 minutes a night on the power play over in the KHL. So like, if you play on the power play, you can just kind of play somewhat sheltered minutes and still get away with playing a lot and having a big impact on the game, right? So I think that's true. Is this the craziest idea? I haven't seen anyone say this in the chat, but like, would it be the most insane thing to just go glass cannon offense only, Lane Hutson, Justin Barron? I mean, like, it sounds insane, and they don't really complement each other's styles, but boy, I feel like that could be a highlight machine, especially if you play them like somewhat sheltered minutes only against other teams like non-top lines, because they're not ideal defensively. I'm sure they could kind of hold their own in certain circumstances. If they're stuck out there, whatever, you put out a more defensive line, defensive forward line or whatever. Look, it's not smart. I'm not claiming it's smart, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't want to play Hutson with a Savard and you prefer to play him lower in the lineup, and like, I don't think it's the most ridiculous thing to stick Xhekaj back with Savard, a pairing that worked very, very well together, had a ton of chemistry, and you just have a bit of fun and see what these guys can produce. I think it's dumb, but I kind of love it at the same time.
It's a little bit of a risky play for sure, but in the rookie showcase here, we saw like Hutson getting paired with Mayu, like two offensive guys going together. So under the right circumstance, Mayu is a little bit of a bigger guy, which I think just naturally you want to just have besides Hudson. Just so happens that he's an offensive player as well. So we will see some different combinations for sure. And who knows, offensive guys can also read off each other very well. It's often a league now of kind of outscoring your opponent more than anything else. It depends on what type of hockey Martin St. Louis will want to play. I feel like just the experience, though, of having somebody like playing with a little bit more of a vet, in Savard. I don't know if Hudson's earned quite the Guhle minutes, pairing yet. But, with Savard, of still getting that experience, though, that is who Lane did play with in his 2 games last year. And he said that Savard was able to help him so much, like really talking to him even on the ice of where he needs to go, what he needs to do. They have a solid chemistry. Lane Hutson has a tremendous amount of respect for David Savard as well. So we see a little bit of chemistry there. I think you just want to put him with somebody with experience just to kind of give him the best opportunity to kind of succeed early on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, there's also a world, like, we don't know what's going to go down at camp, right? There's also a world where it's just straight up Hudson Mayu. Like, if Barron ends up being like the 7th feed, like, it's not crazy, right? So I mean, there's a bunch of worlds, a bunch of ways this can go. We got some positive, some negative comments here in the chat about Lane Hutson and Logan Mayu. We'll leave you guys to discuss those on their own. I also, Jean Maurice, I did forget to mention Michkov. Maybe I'm just trying to put him out of my brain because, there's a certain other guy that I think Habs fans are a little more excited about. These guys are going to be linked at the hip for their whole careers, I'm very sure. But hey, we get to see Michkov I guess in person if you're going to the preseason game, but it is Montreal versus Philadelphia next Monday. Unfortunately, our boy Demidov will not be there, but that'll be that. But Jesse, I think that'll probably do it. We're almost at an hour here. We had so much to talk about today. I want to thank everyone in there in chat for being here. But we got almost 300 people. We can get that like number up to 200. That's just 40 of you. 40 out of the 300 haven't hit that like. If you could do that right now, push it to 200. It'd really help us. We'd really appreciate it. Any final words, Jesse, before we sign off on this another Monday live stream that had so many wonderful people in here and so many nice donations and channel memberships and all that great stuff?
We just want to say thank you to everybody again for all the kind words, and how much we appreciate it. We're honestly blown away. We just think about it all the time of how much we just appreciate your support. Now we have like just such a happy, you know, an amazing, positive community that we get to be a part of. This was all a surprise for us. Of coming onto YouTube, we didn't know how big of a community that you could really kind of create as a result. So it's really, truly the best part. You know, we're getting so hyped for the season. We got so many reasons to be excited for this young team. So we're so happy to have you guys along with the ride for us.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And look, I know, you know, we're not the favorite show of everyone. That's certainly the case. But at the same time, what I will say is I think we have the most positive fan base out of everyone. And you guys make this what it is. The positivity that shows up in every single live stream and every single comment section is absurd. And like, we can't thank you guys enough for that, for genuinely making this feel like a home for so many people to come talk about the Habs in a happy, positive space. That's what we're all about here, and we appreciate you all. Thank you for watching this live episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like. We still got 30 to go to hit 200. Don't know if we can do it. Maybe we can. Hit the subscribe button. Help us reach 15,000 before the season starts. I know I ask a lot, but you guys know I got to do that. It's part of the YouTube biz, right? It is what it is. But thank you all so much for watching. I'm Josh Gosse, for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.